Breaking news out of Washington that's going to change millions of American lives. Bernie Sanders' long-fought battle for economic justice has finally crossed the finish line. That's right, after months of negotiations, late-night sessions, and fierce political standoffs, Sanders' comprehensive economic relief bill has officially passed through Congress. We're talking about a direct $3,000 stimulus payment straight to your bank account and a $200 monthly bonus for Social Security recipients. But wait, is this real? Who qualifies? And most importantly, when will you see this money? Stay tuned because I'm breaking down everything you need to know about this groundbreaking legislation and how it directly impacts your wallet. The political landscape in Washington has been a battlefield for months, with progressives pushing for substantial economic relief while facing significant resistance. But today, in what many are calling a watershed moment for American economic policy, Bernie Sanders' ambitious bill has defied the odds and secured enough votes to pass. This legislation represents one of the most substantial direct payment packages in recent American history, targeting both working families and seniors living on fixed incomes who've been struggling with inflation and rising costs. So what exactly does this new bill include? At its core, the legislation provides a one-time $3,000 stimulus payment to eligible Americans and adds a permanent $200 monthly increase to Social Security benefits. But that's just scratching the surface. The comprehensive package also includes expanded unemployment benefits, increased funding for healthcare services, and significant investments in infrastructure projects designed to create jobs. For many Americans who've been living paycheck to paycheck, this relief couldn't come at a more critical time. Let's be honest, you're probably wondering if you qualify for these benefits, aren't you? The income thresholds for the $3,000 stimulus payment have been set at $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 for married couples filing jointly, with partial payments available for those earning up to $100,000 and $200,000, respectively. If you filed taxes in the past 2 years or received Social Security benefits, you're already in the system and should receive payments automatically. For the $200 Social Security bonus, all current beneficiaries, including those on retirement, disability, and SSI, will see the increase automatically applied to their monthly payments. The journey to passing this bill has been anything but smooth. Senator Sanders, known for his passionate advocacy for working-class Americans, has been pushing versions of this legislation for years. Critics repeatedly called it too expensive, too ambitious, and politically impossible. So what changed? A perfect storm of economic factors, including persistent inflation affecting essential goods, growing wealth inequality, and increasing public pressure from voters across the political spectrum who've been feeling the financial squeeze. Remember when Sanders said, "The American people are tired of working longer hours for lower wages"? That message has finally resonated in the halls of Congress, where even some traditional opponents have acknowledged the need for direct economic relief. Sanders himself called the passage a victory not for me, but for tens of millions of Americans who are struggling to put food on the table, pay their rent, and take care of their families. You might be wondering, will this cause inflation to spike even higher? Economic experts have weighed in with mixed opinions. Proponents argue that because the payments are targeted rather than universal, and because the bill includes provisions to offset costs through increased taxes on corporations and the ultra-wealthy, the inflationary impact should be minimal. Critics maintain concerns about adding to the national debt and potential market reactions. The Treasury Department has released analysis suggesting that the targeted nature of the relief should help mitigate significant inflation risks. Now for the question that's likely at the top of your mind. When will you actually see this money? According to the bill's implementation timeline, the $3,000 stimulus payments will begin processing within 30 days of the president's signature, which is expected any day now. The first wave of recipients will likely see direct deposits within 2 to 3 weeks after processing begins, with paper checks following over the subsequent month. The $200 Social Security bonus will be implemented starting with the first payment cycle following the bill's enactment, meaning most beneficiaries should see the increase within 30 to 45 days. The legislative victory represents a significant shift in American economic policy. For decades, the prevailing approach has been trickle-down economics, the idea that benefits to corporations and wealthy individuals would eventually reach everyday Americans. This bill takes the opposite approach, putting money directly into the hands of those who need it most, with the understanding that when working families have more spending power, the entire economy benefits through increased consumer spending, job creation, and economic growth. Let's talk about what this means for real people. Take Maria from Cleveland, a single mother of two who works full-time but still struggles to cover rising grocery and housing costs. The $3,000 stimulus will allow her to pay off accumulated debt, make needed car repairs, and create a small emergency fund. Or consider Robert, a 78-year-old retiree from Phoenix living primarily on his Social Security checks, who has been cutting his medications in half to make them last longer as prices have risen. The additional $200 monthly will mean he no longer has to make these dangerous healthcare compromises. Is this the beginning of a new era in American economic policy? That remains to be seen, but it certainly represents a significant moment that acknowledges the struggles of everyday Americans. Sanders himself has called this just the first step in addressing economic inequality, suggesting that more progressive economic legislation could follow if this package proves successful in improving conditions for working families and seniors. One of the most contentious aspects of the legislation is how it's being funded. The bill includes several revenue-generating provisions, including increased taxes on corporations with profits over $100 million, a minimum tax rate for individuals with wealth exceeding $1 billion, and closure of several tax loopholes that have historically benefited the wealthiest Americans. These funding mechanisms have drawn sharp criticism from business groups and conservative lawmakers who argue they could hamper economic growth and investment. As we continue to monitor the implementation of this historic legislation, one thing is clear: the economic landscape for millions of Americans is about to change significantly. The direct impact of $3,000 arriving in bank accounts coupled with permanent monthly increases for seniors creates both immediate relief and longer-term financial stability for those who need it most. And while no single piece of legislation can solve all economic challenges, this bill represents a meaningful step toward addressing the financial struggles that have become all too common for many American families. What are your thoughts on this significant development? Will this relief package make a difference in your life or the lives of your loved ones? How do you plan to use your stimulus payment if you qualify? The economic impact of this legislation will ultimately be determined not just by the numbers on paper, but by how it changes the daily reality for Americans across the country. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to stay informed about the implementation of this bill, updates on payment timelines, and potential future economic legislation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'll be bringing you regular updates as this historic bill moves from legislation to actual money in Americans' pockets. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends and family who might benefit from this information. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to financial relief that could help millions. Drop a comment below with your questions or thoughts about this legislation, and I'll do my best to address them in upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.